Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wa salatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina wa Nabeena Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Come to another session of Dawood, and though we finished Dawood alayhi salam, their father and son, and we're on to Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam now. And the many powers that Allah gave Sulaiman alayhi salam, where he was, he got powers that nobody else got. And you can imagine, the more power a person gets, the more you have to fear of them, and the greater their sovereignty or their rule will be on the earth. And Sulaiman alayhi salam had power over the human beings, over the jinns, and we're not just talking about normal jinns here. We're talking about the maradatu shayateen. We're talking about the big devils, or the great jinns that had superpowers. He had control over them. And even they were afraid of disobeying Sulaiman alayhi salam. So if they didn't listen to him, he just imprisoned them. And if they did listen to him, then they had to work for him. In fact, sometimes they worked for him for months and months end without even a sound between them. So he had that power. On top of that, he had the power over the birds. He had the power over the birds that would go across the skies and keep watch over the different territories. Now this was almost like you having some really good satellite sort of power. Zooming into all the areas and knowing exactly where you stand with your enemies and those threats that are probably coming towards you. And not only that, but last week we heard that he understood the conversation between ants, or an ant that was talking to a colony of ants. He understood exactly what was said, and he stopped there and he turned to Allah Azza wa Jal. Now, having so much power over his kingdom, he was quite satisfied that he was the one and only king. Now Allah Azza wa Jal had given 4 individuals in the past a kingdom that when they were king, nobody else on the earth was king, or nobody had their likes of the kind of rule they had. No one had any competition with them of their day. 2 of them were Muslims, and 2 of them were kafir. Okay, so as for the Muslims, one was Sulaiman alayhi salam. He was the greatest of all the different reigns and sovereignties. Sulaiman alayhi salam had the greatest. And the other one was Dhul Qarnayn, because we understand from the Quran, he traveled to the extent of the earth, to the furthest east you can go to, and then the furthest west you can go to. He traveled all of that, and in between as well, where later on, he traps Ya'juj, Ma'juj and so on. So we know these 2 individuals. The other 2 are, one is Namrud, who was the king at the time of, in Babylon, in the time of Ibrahim alayhi salam. He had no competition in his time, and like we covered before, how his end was that Allah Azza wa Jalla, he challenged Allah so directly. He said, okay, where's the challenge? Come on. So he started to throw arrows in the sky and saying, well, if you're in the sky, come down, come on, have a fight with me. So Allah Azza wa Jal, that's when he sent his one small army was mosquitoes. So he sent them down, and they say that mosquitoes came and this man couldn't handle it, until that he took one mosquito in his nose, and that mosquito went straight to his brain, and he would start sucking blood from his brain. And so I've covered this before in the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam. So this was one who was a kafir, who was a disbeliever, and the second one was Fir'aun, who had his kingdom at his time. There was no competition he had while he was king. Now Sulaiman alayhi salam, being the king he already had stated in the Quran, surah number 27, ayah number 16, وَأُوتِينَا مِن كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. We've been given from everything Allah has given us, and we've got this bounty. So he had no worries of his kingdom. And what he would do is that from Fajr till Dhuhr, he kept his father's legacy, which was to judge between people. So Fajr till Dhuhr, he sat there with people, and that was his time to judge between people. And while he was judging between people, nobody had nobody had the courage of moving an inch out of his command, because he could subdue you and put you into prison straight away. He built many great monuments in his time, and while he was doing that, and he was in his majlis or in his gathering, once he actually got all of his close ones together, the people who would report to him, the people who he would give daily tasks to. So we're talking about the human beings, they came, the close jinns, they came, the close birds, all of them came. And one of the things that we recognize from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was that Allah gave them this power. This power was that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam could be sitting in a gathering of several hundred people, and he could tell straight away who is absent. This is a miracle of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we know this from the ahadith. He would turn around from his salah, he would turn around and he would be doing dhikr, and once he's finished his dhikr, he'd look at the crowd, and by just looking at the crowd, like if you guys looked at the crowd today without a register in your hand, how would you know that who's here, who's not here from a Wednesday evening? How would you know? You wouldn't. You think, yeah, is he? If it was a class, even then people take time to register, okay, he's not here, she's not here. And if you're talking about a class of 15, 20 individuals, that's fine. You can straight away tell who's here, who's not here. But if you had a class of 300 people, 400 people, 500 people, how would you know? But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one of his mu'jizah was that he would turn around from his musalla and he would know straight away. Allah gave him this gift. He would know who's here, who's not here. And out of courtesy, not because he was trying to make people feel guilty and so on. No, out of courtesy, out of mercy, just so that he knows they're okay. After a few times he wouldn't see the same individual who had come for salah regularly to his masjid, and he would see them a few times, he hasn't seen them for a few days. That's when the Prophet ﷺ would say, where is so-and-so? Maybe a couple of days or something, he would say, where is so-and-so? How come I'm not seeing so-and-so? So it's not like, I'm monitoring you, I'm watching you, I'm your big brother, I want to see you here. It's not because of that, it's simply out of mercy, out of courtesy. So if you found out that individual was ill, Prophet ﷺ would go that day and he would visit that person. Now Sulaiman alayhi salam had the same thing. That imagine jinns, human beings, birds all together. And Sulaiman alayhi salam glances around and he notices one bird missing. This is amazing. Out of the whole of this, he's looking around, one bird missing, and it's the hoopoe bird. In English you call it the hoopoe bird, in Arabic you call it Hudhud. So this is now Surah number 27, ayah number 20, where Sulaiman alayhi salam, he notices that Hudhud is missing, and he says, Mali, he says, what's the matter? La ara al Hudhud, I don't see Hudhud, I don't see the hoopoe bird. Am kana min al ghaibin, is the Hudhud bird absent? And there's absolute silence here, because this is Sulaiman alayhi salam. This is not any ordinary individual. He could do anything if somebody is not listening to what he wants to be done. And don't forget please, this is not like a person who's got a lot of wealth and who's got a lot of power and just wants to make people just work for the sake of work. No. Everything Sulaiman alayhi salam is doing is for people, for the community, and it's for Allah Azza wa Jall's sake. Obviously, ultimately it's for Allah's sake, and it's going to benefit everybody. So the whole structure he's got going around with building works, with people looking over, with making sure that the army is ready for any attacks, and for him judging between people, it's a wonderful sort of, he was in Jerusalem, he ruled from Jerusalem. So it was a wonderful empire that he had. Now, having someone missing meant that part of the job is not being done. Now, if you have someone, like let's say for example, this happens quite a lot. When you have a big function, I don't know if you guys ever organize the function. Even if you've organized the function in your house, you would know, you give the responsibility to someone to make the cake, you give the responsibility to someone to go and receive the guests from the door, you give somebody responsibility to maybe tidy up, you give somebody responsibility to do something else. Okay, everybody has a place. Especially the bigger the gathering, the more you have to look over it. Like for example, in Edmonton here, when we have that once a year family barbecue or something, there's a lot going on, and every man has to stay at his post. And if you leave your post, you know what's going to happen. People start flooding in, or things will happen, go missing or whatever. You have to stick to your post. If you're a person who's got responsibility. So why he was upset with Hudhud is because Hudhud is supposed to come to this weekly, whether it was a weekly gathering, whether it was whatever, how many days he had this gathering, Hudhud's supposed to come and report back. If Hudhud is absent, that means we could have a threat. Okay? And because Hudhud has a particular job of looking over the skies and seeing, who might be coming to attack the kingdom. A small little position where you don't have people watching over, or the birds watching over, let's say, it could be a threat to the kingdom. So that's why Sulaiman alayhi salam said, ayah number 21, لَأُعَذِّبَنَّهُ عَذَابًا شَدِيدًا. He said, I will punish Hudhud a great punishment, a tormenting punishment. Because this is not a normal job, this is a job of keeping a whole kingdom alive. أَوْ لَأَذْبَحَنَّهُ, or I will definitely slaughter Hudhud in front of others. Meaning that it's going to show that if this bird is not keeping its rank, then you lot, if whoever's listening to me, if you also leave your ranks, then all of us will be at a great risk. So I'm going to teach him a lesson. أَوْ لَيَأْتِيَنِّي بِسُلْطَانٍ مُبِينٍ. Or perhaps I'll give Hudhud the benefit of the doubt. That Hudhud has been out there, he's doing a job, and the job that he's doing, he's going to come to me with some good evidence or something that is going to be mighty for me to say, well, there's a good reason for him to be absent. So either he's absent without leave, in which case I'm going to punish Hudhud, or he's going to have a good reason, in which case I will wait. Not long went by, they were still there. Hudhud came in. فَمَكَثَ غَيْرَ بَعِيدٍ. Hudhud wasn't very far coming back to Sulaiman alayhi salam. So Hudhud flew in, the hoopoe bird flew in, and the bird spoke to Sulaiman alayhi salam. Now this is amazing, okay? Imagine, I'd love to be there at that time. Imagine you're there, Sulaiman alayhi salam speaking to the bird speaking to Sulaiman alayhi salam. You understand what Sulaiman alayhi salam says, you ain't got no clue what the bird says, right? So you have to wait till, some translation or something has been done, or Sulaiman alayhi salam says something. So this was the power. Imagine there's a king here who understands birds. This is not ordinary. So Sulaiman alayhi salam has hoopoe coming in, and hoopoe speaks straight away. He says, أَحَطُّ بِمَا لَمْ تُحِطُ بِهِ. So before anything, he gives the, like when you're in trouble, when you're in trouble, instead of saying, well, I'd like to explain myself why I've been absent, let me start with the moment that I went away. If you start with that, man, you're going to get slapped. Because the person hasn't got patience to listen to you. When someone's angry, or when someone's upset with you, you better get to the bottom of it quick. And that's something that we learn from this. So Hudhud did something really good. He started something which, he said something which straight away would take the attention of Sulaiman alayhi salam and all the courtiers that were there. He said, أَحَطُّ بِمَا لَمْ تُحِطْ بِهِ. He said, I have encompassed or surrounded or seen the whereabouts of something which you haven't encompassed. And he's saying to the king, what you don't know, I know. Wow. Now it's not like boasting or saying, well, what in the world do you know? You're just king sitting on a throne. Yeah, I'm doing the big job for you. I'm watching the sky. It's not like that. What it was like is, I have come to you, your majesty, your royal highness, Sulaiman alayhi salam, I've come to you and I've seen something, look, which you haven't seen. And I've managed to encounter something in my journey out there which you haven't done in your kingdom and while you've been a king. وَجِئْتُكْ مِنْ سَبَإٍ بِنَبَإٍ يَقِينٍ. And I bring you. Now this is where, of course, when he said the first part, it could be that there's always a possibility that Hudhud could be lying. Hudhud could be making this up. Okay, just because someone comes to you and tells you certain news and they were absent and you want to try and get a good explanation from them, and they tell you that I've seen something you haven't seen. How do you know they're telling you the truth? So that's why Hudhud added on, وَجِئْتُكَ مِنْ سَبَإٍ بِنَبَإٍ يَقِينٍ. I've come to you from Saba, from Yemen. Now, Sulaiman alayhi salam is in Jerusalem. And that's where his kingdom, the main part of his kingdom was. Of course, he had a large kingdom all over the Arab world and all over the sort of whole area. And Hudhud had traveled about 2,000 kilometers south east towards Yemen. In Yemen, there's the Sana'a, there's Ma'arib, there's these places. Near there's a place called Saba. Now, currently, it's about a good sort of 3 days, they call it a 3 days journey or something from Sana'a. So anyway, it's in Yemen, it's in the south part of the Arabian Peninsula. Hudhud had traveled 2,000 miles that way to see, what was there, and came across something which was astonishing. So Hudhud said, I've come from Sabah, but I've come to you with news that is convincing. Binaba'in yaqeen. Why Hudhud added this on is to substantiate the fact that, look, I'm not lying. I'm bringing you news that is going to be really, really good news for you to know that I've gone so far and I know that this exists. Because Sulaiman alayhi salam thinks that he is the one in charge. There is no other king or queen in the good few thousand kilometers around him. There is no one to challenge him. And he's totally unaware that there's a whole kingdom that's operating right, by his side. That could be a threat. Potentially it could be a threat. So, Hudhud says, this is ayah number 23 now. Inni wajadtum ra'ah tamlikuhum. I found a woman who is in charge and who's ruling over these people in Sabah. This is Bilqis. He's talking about Bilqis. Later on she becomes Muslim, and according to reports as well, later on she actually marries Sulaiman alayhi salatu salam. Some reports say she doesn't marry him, some reports say she does marry him. I go for, I'm a bit more inclined towards the ones that she actually marries him later on. But definitely the Quran establishes that she actually becomes a Muslim later on. But at this time, her situation is that she's not actually a believer in any of the scriptures. Hudhud says, وَأُوتِيَتْ مِنْ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. Now this is something surprising that Hudhud throws at Sulaiman alayhi salam, which makes Sulaiman alayhi salam think that, seriously, what is Hudhud saying? Because Hudhud said, أُوتِيَتْ مِنْ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. She's been given from everything. Meaning that if you go back to the 16th ayah of the surah, Sulaiman alayhi salam said, وَأُوتِينَا مِنْ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. Because of Allah's bounties on me and my father, we've been given from everything, meaning that Allah has given us so much. And Hudhud is saying, well, this woman has also got a big kingdom and she's been given a lot. وَلَهَا عَرْشٌ عَظِيمٌ. And the most symbolic thing about her kingdom is the size of her throne, which kind of indicated that, people sometimes they want to look big, so they do a lot of things. Like, right now that Mr. Trump is in America, every time he stands there, he's got his 747 behind him. You've seen that? Yeah. Kind of shows, who's in charge. Yeah. So people in the past did this. People did this to, grand house, a massive garden, walls that are surrounding it, cannons that are on the top of the walls ready to blow anyone out, moat around this castle that you've got. These are things that tell you that you're a person with great possession, great power. So one thing that Bilqis did is that she had this wonderful throne. But this throne, inside the throne, she had put jewels inside. So, the emeralds and diamonds and so on, or whatever the precious stones were, she actually had put those precious stones inside her throne. And her throne, sometimes you have a chair, sometimes you have a big chair. She had this massive throne, whether she looked small on it or what, but her throne showed that she was a woman of great, possession, of great sort of assets that Allah had given her, wealth Allah had given her. She was that woman. Now, these were things that Hudhud was now reporting back. So far what we've got is that he knows something Sulaiman alayhi salam doesn't know. He's come with news that is convincing, number 2. Number 3 is that it's a woman that is ruling. So it's a woman that has got so much power. And she's also got from everything Allah's given her. She's managed to have whatever. Hudhud didn't say Allah gave it to her, but Hudhud was saying that she's got from everything, meaning that she's got a lot of things that she's accumulated. She's got a massive throne, and then he adds on to say the 6th thing, وَجَدْتُهَا وَقَوْمَهَا يَسْجُدُونَ لِلشَّمْسِ. The surprising thing is that she and all her people, they worship the sun every day. They don't worship Allah. So they are sun worshippers. وَزَيَّنَ لَهُمُ الشَّيْطَانُ أَعْمَالَهُم. And the shaitan or the devil has made it something that is adorned in their hearts to worship the sun. So he has misguided them from the path. فَهُمْ لَا يَهْتَدُونَ. And they don't, they're not guided to the path. Now why Hudhud was adding this on is so that Sulaiman alayhi salam doesn't think that a bird goes over there to another kingdom, and after seeing my kingdom goes over to another kingdom and starts getting surprised so much, starts coming to me and lecturing me about another kingdom and tells me how great that kingdom is. You know, it's kind of an insult. If you're an ambassador and you come back to your country and you say, President, I just want to say that those folks over there, when I saw them, they were much greater in number than what you are. And imagine someone comes back and says, Mr. President, I would say to you that you kind of need to increase the size of your kingdom because these people are looking a bit, greater than you. Now, if somebody comes with that kind of language or that kind of approach, then they'll get annoyed. Now, Hudhud is adding on the fact that, look, I know it's wrong they're worshipping the sun. I know it's wrong that the shaitan took them away from Allah. And then he adds on. He says, shouldn't they be prostrating to the one الَّذِي يُخْرِجُ الْخَبْءَ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. This is Hudhud still speaking. Sulaiman alayhi salam, shouldn't they be worshipping Allah and bowing down to the one who takes out the seed from the hidden treasures from the heavens and the earth? And shouldn't they be worshipping or prostrating the one who knows what is all the things that all of you guys hide and all of you guys put apparent? Because he doesn't know what reaction Sulaiman alayhi salam is going to give right now. Allahu la ilaha illa huwa Rabbul Arshil Azim. Allah is the one that there is no other Lord besides him. Rabbul Arshil Azim. He is the Lord of the great throne. Meaning that he just said, Hudhud just said in the presence of Sulaiman alayhi salam that this woman has got a great throne. So then he added on in his speech. He's quite clever. Just so that Sulaiman alayhi salam doesn't get upset. He said, Rabbul Arshil Azim. They should be worshipping the one who has the great throne. Allah has the great throne. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Yeah. He's trying to say that, look, okay, Your Majesty, I've been there, seen it, I said a few words, but I hope you don't think that I'm someone who's been mesmerized by their power. And I hope you don't think that my Iman has been affected. That's why he gave the whole thing about Iman, shouldn't they be worshipping Allah? And I hope you don't think that just because I saw her with a great throne, that I don't realize that, you don't have a big throne and Allah has obviously the greatest throne. This was a way of trying to dampen the whole spirit. Now, this teaches us a lot. There's a lot going on here. Because, sometimes when you read this, you think, why did Hudhud need to speak so much? Do you understand? And why did Allah need to report all of this to us? It could have been simply like, Sulaiman alayhi salam, he has Hudhud come and Hudhud, where you been? Okay, I've seen, all the first things, all the way up to the end of, let's say, maybe ayah 24 or something. But the whole of the ayah 25, 26 is extra things about Allah. Why did Allah need to report all of that? Why? Because it teaches us something, which is, when you're speaking to someone, depending on who you're speaking, you better put the record straight. You don't say what you want to who you want, when you want, and how you want. Okay, especially when it's someone in authority and power, there's a certain way to speak to them. Somebody who's in, you don't speak to a person who's a doctor the same way you would speak to a street cleaner. And again, no offense to the street cleaner, but you wouldn't speak to them the same way. People say, it's all right, it's my right, freedom of speech, whatever. Listen, you got freedom of speech, but there are certain things in this world that you've got to understand. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "Anzilun nas manazilahum." Put people in their places. Give people the prestigious place that they deserve, or lower them down, or raise them above according to the status that they have. And Sulaiman alayhi salam sitting here as a king, and Hudhud coming with news, he better have a good reason to be absent. So when he's speaking, obviously he's saying all these things, but then he's trying to cover it to show Sulaiman alayhi salam that, look, I'm serious, I've seen all of this, and I hope I haven't made error in your presence in the way I've spoken. That's what comes out of this. Okay? This is a sign of a good and a great civilization. Now, Sulaiman alayhi salam, he could have turned around and said, Hudhud, fine, I believe you. Let's straight away, guys, let's, get our forces together, let's go down. Sulaiman alayhi salam could have said that because it could be a potential threat. Sabah could be a potential threat. Bilqis, the queen, could be a potential threat. But he didn't do that. Sulaiman alayhi salam could have straight away said that I'm going to test these people or something like that. No, he didn't. The first thing was to Hudhud. He said, Sananzur, as-sadaqta am kunta min al-kadhibin. This is ayah number 27 of Surah 27. He said, we'll see soon whether you have said the truth or whether you've just lied. Now, there's no reason really for Sulaiman alayhi salam to believe that this bird is just made a whole fabrication and come to him. But you know what it teaches us? This teaches us no matter how good any person is to you, no matter how close they are, no matter how good their track record of history is with you, you better always treat them equally with everybody else, that you know that there could be a possibility that they failed on this one occasion. What I mean by this is that, some people, they see a usual suspect. You know what I'm trying to say is that, there's a person amongst us who's stolen in the past. Let's say he stole once in the past. So another theft happens, it probably is him, innit? It happens the second time, probably him or his cronies that are around. Now it's wrong, because the thing is, he could have done it once, but maybe he's not doing it another 10 times. But he gets accused for nothing. That's one extreme. The other extreme is somebody who's been good, somebody who's really good in this masjid, somebody who's always, looking after everyone and so on. You think, mashallah, mashallah, alhamdulillah, look at that brother, look at that brother. You think, I wish I was like him. You don't know, he could be the thief. Seriously. You don't know. He could be the thief. You guys don't believe me, right? You think maybe, Sheikh, maybe. You're just sitting here telling some jackanori's. No. I've caught someone in my life, in a masjid, who was the closest to the people of the masjid. The trusted person. This is a real story I'm telling you. He used to come, and he was so trusted, he had the keys to every single door of the masjid. He had the keys to every single box of every box in the masjid. And he used to come every week. And you know what? Fi sabilillah. Allah. Say Allah. Fi sabilillah means for the sake of Allah. Fi sabilillah, this man used to clean the masjid, no pay ever he asked for. He used to clean the masjid. He used to come 7 in the morning on Friday, clean the masjid all the way till Jummah. Every Friday, non-stop, never missed it. Fi sabilillah. Say Allah. What say? Allah. This guy, honestly, you look at him, you think, wow, this man is coming, for the sake of Allah, voluntary, never takes in any money, cleans the entire masjid from one end to another end, hoovers it. He does the jet washing outside. He cleans all the bins. He empties the donation boxes, but he gives it straight to the main person in charge. Okay, and everything's wonderful. This one man on his own, he does 6 hours, about 6 hours every single Jum'ah, and he won't go home till about 3-4 o'clock. And you think, mashallah. And you know how long he's doing it for? He's doing it for about 10 years. Mashallah. That's what we're here. Mashallah. Yeah. So what used to happen is that he used to open it in the morning, obviously the donation boxes. And once I asked him, I said, Uncle, you open those boxes. I said, what do we get for the masjid? Like, sometimes you want to hear, mashallah, people have been donating. You want to hear how much we're raising and so on. He said, nothing, pennies. I said, pennies? Okay. Anyway, so another week went by. I asked him how much. He said, pennies, coins. He used to tell me just a few scraps. That's all people give. People don't give to the masjid, this and that. So I'm hearing this now for weeks and weeks and weeks. And one day I said, I'm not going to take this anymore. I was like, no way. I want to make Uncle happy. So what I did is that I made sure that I was the last one at the masjid on the Thursday, okay, Thursday evening, and I made sure that I was the one who donated a good few notes in a certain box, and I said, tomorrow I'm going to make uncle happy. Yeah? And after Fajr, when the uncle came and he's opening all the boxes and he'd done all that, I said to him, I said, uncle, I said, how's the donation boxes? He said, pennies, pennies. I thought, whoa, because I know I was the last one out. I'm the first one, or one of the first people in, and this guy is the only one that's gone with a key and opened that donation box. And he's saying to me for weeks and weeks and weeks, pennies, and on this occasion he says pennies. I thought, then what happened is I thought, okay, I'm going to test him at the following week. So what I did is that I put something on there for the Friday, because he comes on a Friday, so I have to do it on the Thursday. So I put something on the notes, put something written on the notes, and I put it in the box, and I asked him the next day, because I knew that now if he's taking it, then there's a signature of mine, or there's something I put on the notes that I would know those are the notes that came out of my wallet. So next day I said to him, I said, uncle, how is it going? Pennies, pennies. I thought, okay, pennies. At Jummah time, in front of some trustees and others, I actually said, I took out 2 20s. I said to the uncle, I said, uncle, you got any change for this? Because I knew that what I'd put last night was 4 tenors, 4 £10 notes. And then from his wallet, he takes out 4 £10 notes. It's exchange just to get some change. So I gave him the 2 £20 notes, I take the 4 £10, and on those 4 £10 notes is the markings that I put. Come from his wallet. And you guys said earlier, yeah, 10 years cleaning the masjid, mashallah, yeah? Sometimes the most trusted one could be doing something. And later on, alhamdulillah, we found out he was doing something, alhamdulillah, we managed to get the person out of the masjid. But the thing was that so close, somebody so close to you. In fact, they're giving tens and tens of hours. This guy would come other times on Sundays and he would do things for the masjid. On the weekends he would come do things for the masjid. And the thing is, I'm not saying this happens in every masjid, guys. Don't stop donating, right? Please, guys, yeah? Okay, you might say, yeah, next time they come for Jummah collection, no. Pennies. No. I'm not asking you not to donate. And I donate, you donate, we should do that. We should carry on. But all my point was that sometimes the usual suspect is actually the one telling you the truth. And sometimes the close one who you trust is the one who's telling you a lie. And it's amazing sometimes when you go on in life and when you're hit by this, I couldn't believe it. I almost fainted. I thought, how this man out of everybody? No way. And whoever I told in the masjid of the committee members, whoever I told, they said, no way. They said, I am making things up. I'm your imam, guys, or I'm a person who leads prayers and so on. They said, no, that person never. That's when I had to do the test. And when I caught the person out, once wasn't enough. I had to catch him out again in front of them. And a second time when I caught him out, this was another blatant, blasé way of caught him out. And that's when, the trustee that saw him almost acted as if he's basically seen a jinn. It's like, he's walking from here to here, from here to here. No way. Because they're best friends. And they've been, in this organization for maybe 10, 15 years. Never ever thought that this person would do it. It's like your trusted person. How? The person's got keys to every single door of the masjid, every donation box of the masjid. So all I'm trying to say is that Sulaiman alayhi salam, when he said to Hudhud, there's a massive lesson here, is that when you have, even when you have children, sometimes with children you think, yeah, this one's always telling the truth and this was never telling the truth. No, sorry. Treat them fairly. The one that's always telling you the truth could one day tell you a lie. And the one that's probably lying could tell you the truth on one occasion. And the same thing with employees, the same thing with people in your life, in society. Don't treat people differently just because they've got a bad history or they've got a good history. So that's why Sulaiman alayhi salam said, well, I'm going to find out whether you've been telling the truth or lying.